Delta One parked at the edge of the town, headlights cutting through the mist. Gravel crunched under his boots as he stepped out and adjusted his pack. The town lay silent, frozen as though it had been paused in memory. Every building seemed to stare back. Windows dark, shadows pooled at odd angles. The school dominated the horizon, 2 stories of cracked brick, dark windows reflecting nothing. Behind it, the forest pressed closer than it should, almost like it wanted to reclaim the building. He checked his equipment again. EMF detectors, infrared cameras, sound recorders, small kit of Vatican-approved relics. Crosses, incense, blessed water. Each item meticulously prepared, each step calculated. Before entering, he reviewed months of collected intelligence. Interviews with locals, archived YouTube videos, Reddit threads. Everything mentioning strange lights, disappearing animals, shadowy forms. Every account referenced the pattern. 3 taps. Childlike forms, authoritative figures, animals. All different manifestations of the same entity. Each report hinted at intelligence, adaptive behavior, a presence that tested, observed, and learned. 3 taps. Soft. Patient. Attentive. Delta One froze. The sound came from inside the school. Not loud, not demanding, just deliberate. He spoke into his recorder, his voice calm but taut. Entity confirmed. Observation protocol initiated. Stepping inside, the air was unnaturally still. Dust clung to shafts of light from broken windows. Shadows pooled in corners, moving slightly when he wasn't looking. Light flickered across the walls as if the building itself were breathing. 3 taps. Closer. Curious. Observing. He noted, shadow behavior detected. Multiform potential. Appears aware of arrival. Pattern not predictable. Previous reports confirmed. Small child, tall adult, animals. Same tap-in behavior. The floorboards groaned beneath his boots. Every sound he made seemed amplified, stretched unnaturally. Each corner of the hallway held subtle movement. Shadows flickered, impossible shapes skimming just out of focus. A door creaked ahead. Gymnasium. Dust coated the floor. A basketball lay in the corner, untouched for decades. Shadows shifted subtly, almost deliberate. 3 taps. Delta One observed, recording meticulously. Childlike form observed. Movement purposeful, not yet hostile. Matches previous witness accounts. He advanced slowly down the east wing, scanning every room. Broken windows allowed drafts of wind to curl around corners. The smell of wet earth and decaying leaves drifted in, mixed with the faint chemical tang of old paint. 3 taps. It was waiting. The central hall stretched before him, shadows pooling, shapes flitting in peripheral vision. Children, adults, animals, appearing briefly, vanishing before he could focus. 3 taps. A childlike silhouette appeared, tilting its head, watching, mimicking his movements. Delta One spoke softly into his recorder. I've seen this pattern before. Previous reports. Small child, tall adult, shadow animals. Entity has existed here for decades, adapting, observing. Each form deliberate, each movement a reflection of what previous witnesses experienced. Hallways twisted subtly. Ceilings lowered and rose. The floorboards groaned under invisible pressure. Whispers layered over each other. Fragments of voices from previous accounts. Are you here to play? Why did you come? You shouldn't be here. 3 taps. Another form appeared. Tall, authoritative, teacher-like. Eyes piercing, voice low. You understand the rules. 3 taps. Delta 1 advanced cautiously. Every step mirrored by the entity's rhythm. Shadows moved independently, sometimes combining, sometimes splitting, testing him. 3 taps, he noted. Multiform entity, adaptive intelligence, testing response, maintaining protocol. Previous encounters provide insight, but adaptation remains unpredictable. The school felt alive. Walls seemed to pulse faintly. Floorboards rippled. Distant echoes overlapped. Children laughing, guttural growls, distorted adult voices. 3 taps. Delta 1 whispered prayers under his breath, each syllable deliberate, keeping focus as shadows lunged, receded, probed, overwhelming. 3 taps. Form surged. Child, adult, authoritative, animal, combining, separating, adaptive, intelligent. The entity expanded across rooms, hallways, floors, occupying multiple planes simultaneously. 3 taps. Delta 1 adjusted his infrared camera, scanning the hallways as shadows shifted around him. The building no longer felt empty. It breathed. Every floorboard groan, every flicker of light, every whisper of wind was amplified, purposeful. The taps continued. 3, 3, 3. Always there, always observing, always testing. He moved toward the gym, the site of previous reports from the townsfolk. The room was exactly as described in old videos. Basketballs scattered, lockers lining the walls, banners faded. But something was wrong. The echoes of past events seemed embedded in the air. Delta 1 noted every detail. Dust disturbed in patterns, footprints that weren't his, shadows that moved independent of any light source. 3 taps. A childlike form appeared at the far end of the gym. Delta 1 froze. The figure mimicked his posture, tilting its head the same way he did. He had read about this behavior. Witnesses from Story 1 described it. Small, observing, learning. And now it was doing the same to him. He recorded his observation. Child form detected. Mimicry observed. Pattern matches previous incidents. The entity shifted. The child became taller, more authoritative. Eyes dark, expression unreadable. The taps changed slightly, slower, deliberate, each knock on the wooden floor like punctuation. Delta 1 recognized it from Story 5. The calm, procedural tone. The control. The building itself seemed to obey the rhythm. 3 taps. He advanced cautiously, EMF detectors spiking in intermittent bursts, cameras struggling to track shadows that seemed to multiply. The air smelled faintly of wet earth and smoke, a lingering trace of other stories, other events. Each form tested him differently. The child curious, the adult calculating, animal shapes darting just beyond the edges of his vision. 3 taps. Delta 1 paused at the center of the gym, reviewing his notes aloud. Adaptive entity, multiform. Observed behaviors correlate with 9 prior incidents. Rhythm consistent. Psychological pressure increasing. The lights flickered, and then the gym seemed to shift. Wall angles altered subtly. Ceiling height changed as if the building itself were alive. Dust swirled around him, creating shapes that resembled past witnesses. The young girl, the man with a flashlight, animals frozen in mid-leap. 3 taps. A whisper of sound overlapped the taps, layering voices from the previous stories. Are you here to play? You shouldn't be here. Do not leave. Delta One's grip tightened on his cross. He moved toward the doors leading to the east wing. Shadows flitted across the walls, dancing with intent, anticipating his every step. 3 taps. He recorded. Psychological manipulation. Sensory overlap detected. Entity testing response time and attention. Prior witness accounts referenced in environmental feedback. The east wing stretched endlessly. Every step forward was mirrored by taps behind him, on the floor, on walls, in the air. Shapes appeared and vanished. Small children running silently, adults observing, animals staring with glowing eyes. He remembered story 6, the one with the animals. Their patterns now repeated, embedded into the very structure of the school. 3 taps. Delta One stopped at a doorway. A wall of shadows rose in front of him, separating him from the hall beyond. From within, voices layered, fragmented, distorted. Familiar but wrong. 3 taps. The shadows twisted into one massive form. Child, adult, authoritative, animal. All merging into a single pulsing presence. The taps came faster now, echoing, almost like a heartbeat. He felt the weight of every previous witness's fear pressing against him. 3 taps. He spoke softly into his recorder. Multiform entity confirmed. Direct engagement not recommended. Observation prioritized. Adaptive intelligence verified across prior incidents. Suddenly, the floor shifted beneath him. The building moaned as if responding to his presence. He moved toward the central hallway, cameras scanning, detectors spiking, shadows swirling. Every surface reflected fragments of the past. Halls from story 2, the tapping from story 4, the animals from story 6. He realized the entity wasn't just replicating forms. It was compiling experiences, synthesizing every encounter into a collective memory. Learning. 3 taps. A child ran past, then dissolved into darkness. A tall adult appeared, blocking the hallway. The wind seemed to push against him, carrying whispers from the old YouTube videos, from Reddit threads he had read, from every story compiled in his research. 3 taps. He advanced, each step measured, every shadow observed. Light flickered unnaturally, bending around corners, revealing glimpses of forms that should not exist. Floorboards creaked, ceiling tiles vibrated. The smell of earth and decay permeated the air. 3 taps. Delta One paused, breathing steady, recording everything. Environmental manipulation intensifying, sensory overload approaching, entity integrating historical data as prior 9 incidents into current engagement. From behind him, the whispers became a chorus. Words, phrases, fragments from the previous stories, repeated endlessly. He remembered each report. Small child tapping, calm authoritative tones, recorded messages, animals sensing the change. All converging here. 3 taps. He moved forward again, the entity's form stretching, folding, expanding. It pressed against him without touching, bending light and air. Each step felt heavier, as if the building itself resisted movement. 3 taps. Delta One adjusted his backpack and checked his instruments again. Every gauge flickered like it had a life of its own, reacting to the presence that had already begun shaping the school around him. He recalled the reports he had compiled, every story from the past 9 incidents. The small child in the old school, the familiar voice in the kitchen, the tapping through walls, the animals sensing something unseen, the the recorded messages, all traces of the same intelligence. Now he was standing in its heart. Shadows shifted in the corners of his vision, forming humanoid silhouettes, then animals, then shapes that could not be described. He stepped carefully down a hallway lined with lockers. Floorboards creaked beneath him, but no one, or nothing, was physically there. The sound was amplified, distorted, as if the entity was communicating through the building itself. 3 taps. He noted the rhythm, recording it in real time. This pattern was constant, repeating across forms, across time, across stories. Each tap seemed deliberate testing, deliberate attention. Delta One whispered into his recorder. Pattern continuity verified. Forms replicate known behavioral sequences. Intelligence confirmed adaptive. Observation priority maintained. The air felt heavier as he approached the central gym. Broken windows rattled lightly. Shadows pooled along the walls, then lifted, shifting toward him in unison. He recalled Story 1, the small silhouette watching from the window. He remembered Story 3, the man moving into a house near the school, learning the rules too late. Every prior account was a prelude to what he faced now. 3 taps. He paused, breathing controlled, heart rate steady. His instruments registered spikes he had never seen, EMF readings jittering violently, infrared cameras flickering with impossible shadows. The entity was everywhere and nowhere. He moved forward, careful not to trigger the pattern too aggressively. Floorboards groaned, paper stirred, and faint whispers layered over each other, snippets of voices from the first 9 stories. You shouldn't be here. Are you here to play? You cannot stop me. 3 taps. Delta One noted the forms expanding. Childlike figures darted across the floor. Tall, authoritative forms blocked hallways, and animal shapes appeared along the walls, moving fluidly, fading, merging. Each form tested his perception, his focus, his patience. Every shadowed movement matched reports from previous incidents. He could predict some, but not all. He entered the cafeteria, central to the building. Light flickered in a chaotic pattern, reflecting off broken tiles. Shadows converged, forming multiple humanoid figures simultaneously. The entity was orchestrating its display. 3 taps. Delta One exhaled slowly, steadying himself. Environmental manipulation increasing. Psychological threshold challenged. Multi-form entity. Reports from previous witnesses align with current behavior. Containment protocols insufficient. The childlike form appeared first, tilting its head, mimicking his movements. Then the authoritative figure stepped forward, commanding, watching. Animal shapes skittered along the walls. The entity was layering all forms it had previously taken. An amalgam of every encounter, every witness report, every fear. 3 taps. Delta One moved cautiously toward the east wing. He scanned walls, ceilings, the floor. Patterns repeated. Shadows pulsed in rhythm with the taps. His recorder caught it all. Every detail logged. 3 taps. He whispered the names of the previous victims from his notes, hoping to anchor the presence to confirm continuity. The whispers of the past stories, child, woman, man, animals, overlapped and responded in distorted echoes, merging into the singular awareness of the entity. 3 taps. He reached the science lab. Broken glass glittered on the floor. Cabinets hung open. Shadows pooled and stretched unnaturally, like water rippling over stone. Delta One's instruments went haywire. Infrared cameras detecting multiple heat sources, EMF detectors spiking violently. 3 taps. He spoke into his recorder, carefully maintaining calm. Entity now demonstrating full multiform capability. Adaptive intelligence verified. Prior behavioral patterns merged into current activity. Observations critical for containment analysis. A distant, distorted voice echoed through the hall. "You cannot leave. You cannot stop me." 3 taps. The shadows coalesced, forming a massive silhouette, stretching across the cafeteria and into the hallways. Childlike features merged with authoritative animalistic elements, blending seamlessly. Every prior form was present simultaneously. Delta One felt the weight of the intelligence pressing in, not physically, but across perception itself. 3 taps. He activated a small set of Vatican relics, crosses, blessed water, incense, moving in a slow, deliberate pattern around the entity. But the presence was unfazed. The entity adapted instantly, its forms folding around the objects, shifting, expanding. The taps intensified, faster, sharper, demanding recognition, attention. Delta One steadied his breath. All countermeasures ineffective, prior reports accurate, psychological strain extreme, observation remains priority, continuation of behavioral mapping critical. 3 taps, the lights went out completely. Shadows enveloped him. He could see nothing, but he knew they were there. The taps continued, now omnipresent. Every wall, floor, and ceiling transmitted rhythm. 3 taps. He began walking forward, carefully, guided only by the pattern of the taps, the flickers of infrared, and his own intuition. Each step was mirrored by the entity, each movement observed, catalogued, responded to. 3 taps. Delta One's heart pounded, sweat beaded along his forehead. Instruments recorded chaotic readings, but he pressed on, toward the main hall, toward confrontation, toward whatever the entity intended next. 3 taps. Delta One advanced deeper into the school, his boots echoing softly on the warped floorboards. Shadows pooled in the corners, stretching unnaturally, shifting as if they had a life of their own. Every hallway seemed familiar yet distorted, walls bending subtly as though the building itself was aware of his presence. He checked his recorder again, speaking clearly. Entity behavior escalating, multiform patterns combining, environmental variables unpredictable. Previous incidents indicate similar escalation prior to direct interaction. Observations ongoing. He paused at the entrance to the east wing. The faint outlines of the gymnasium were visible through cracked doors. Dust motes floated in the air, disturbed by no wind. From somewhere deep inside, 3 taps echoed softly. Not loud, not harsh, simply measured, deliberate, attentive. Delta One's eyes scanned the room. Child form observed, authoritative form active. Animal patterns detected, synchronization between forms increasing, consistent with previous accounts. He pulled up the files on his tablet. Each of the first 9 cases blinked at him. Stories from residents, video footage, Reddit threads, YouTube recordings. He studied them carefully. Story 1. A group of friends, small child form in abandoned school. Story 2. Solo investigator, whispers echoing rhythmic taps. Story 3. New resident, entity establishing rules, polite but menacing. Story 4. Housebound widower, entity mimicking loved one's voice. Story 5. Dispatch officer, calm authority voice through system. Story 6. Animals responding first, unusual environmental patterns. Story 7. Redacted. Story 8. Redacted. Story 9. Redacted. He noticed the consistency. The entity wasn't chaotic. It adapted, learned, mirrored, tested. Each form, each scenario, a deliberate reflection of human perception. Taps, patterns, attention, observation. 3 taps. Delta 1 exhaled slowly. He spoke into his recorder again. Entity acknowledging observation. Engagement appears deliberate. Adaptive intelligence confirmed. Previous witness experiences validated. Interaction ongoing. Psychological threshold assessed as elevated. He moved toward the gym, careful to note each sound. The air seemed to thrum, faint vibrations passing through the walls, floor, ceiling. Shadows shifted independently of light sources. Small flashes of motion. Child form darting. Adult authoritative figure pacing. Animal silhouettes crawling along edges. Kept him alert. He remembered Story 6. The animals had known first. Perhaps this wasn't just about humans, he thought. Perhaps the entity had been listening, learning, adjusting for years, observing every interaction, every response, every heartbeat. 3 taps. Delta 1 whispered, though the microphone would pick it up clearly. I understand your patterns. I understand your forms. Observation continues. The lights flickered. A sudden gust of wind swept through the broken windows, carrying with it the faint smell of wet earth and decaying leaves. The childlike form appeared in the center of the gym. It tilted its head, watching, mimicking his breathing, his stance, his cautious steps. 3 taps. Then the authoritative form stepped forward, tall, imposing, blocking a hallway. Its shadow stretched across the floor like ink spilled on water. It made no move, no sound, but the presence was undeniable. 3 taps. Delta 1 adjusted his EMF detector. The needle jumped violently. Energy signature elevated. Multiform entity confirmed. Correlation with previous reports verified. Physical interaction probability high. Observed pattern suggests escalation imminent. He moved slowly past the adult shadow, each step deliberate. Every corner held potential movement. He kept the recorder active, documenting everything. A soft hum rose from the floorboards, like whispers layered, overlapping, fragments of voices he had studied earlier. You cannot leave. You cannot stop me. You are observed. The voices echoed simultaneously. Fragments of child, adult, animal, authority. 3 taps. Delta 1's pulse quickened. He continued. Psychological impact confirmed. Previous witness accounts consistent. Multisensory engagement ongoing. Environmental variables unstable. The floor beneath him rippled slightly. Shadows combined, stretching across walls and ceiling, merging into forms he recognized from prior stories. A fleeting glimpse of a familiar house, a backyard, a street, all blending into the gym. The entity was recreating memory, perception, experience. 3 taps. Delta 1 crouched, studying a floating paper. It rotated slowly, edges curling unnaturally. Faint whispers layered beneath it, fragments of conversations from Story 1, Story 4, Story 5. He realized the entity wasn't just observing, It was integrating, creating a composite of all previous experiences. 3 taps. He whispered into the recorder. Integration of prior forms observed. Composite entity now active. Previous stories observations validated. Environmental manipulation extreme. Survival probability contingent on continued observation and adherence to protocols. Shadows lunged, withdrew, spread across the room. Animal shapes ran along walls, ceilings, floor, then vanished. The child forms circled him, following his every movement. The authoritative form mirrored his posture, intent clear in the unseen, unspoken presence. 3 taps. Delta One adjusted his infrared camera. Figures flickered too fast to track individually. The air thickened, oppressive. Whispers layered over one another. Movement everywhere and nowhere at once. He spoke steadily, recording each note. Adaptive intelligence confirmed. Multiform behavior replicates previous interactions. Entity fully aware of my presence. Escalation verified. Prior patterns provide partial predictive insight. Direct engagement imminent. 3 taps. Delta One moved deeper into the school. The hallways twisted. Shadows seemed longer, darker, stretching unnaturally as if they were reaching for him. He paused only to check his instruments. Every EMF detector he had ever carried now screamed in unison. Lights flickered on walls. Floors groaned under no visible weight. Air thickened, heavy with static. 3 taps. The sound came from multiple directions, overlapping. One set from the gym, another from the cafeteria, another from the far east wing. The rhythm was precise, deliberate. It was testing him, watching, learning. Delta One spoke into his recorder. Multi-directional engagement confirmed. Entity intelligence adaptive. Previous witness reports correlate with current form behavior. Observation continues. Response required with extreme caution. He advanced slowly, every step measured, every breath controlled. A faint whispering echoed, fragments of voices from the past 9 incidents. Are you here to play? Do you understand the rules? You cannot leave. 3 taps. Each tap now felt like a heartbeat, counting down, marking time. Delta One could feel the entity's awareness closing in, surrounding him, pressing into every corner of the school. Shapes darted around him. Childlike silhouettes, tall, authoritative forms, shadow animals. All coexisting, moving in patterns he recognized from the compiled accounts. 3 taps. He approached the central hall. Light bent around him, shadows twisting to mimic forms he had seen before. Walls shifted, stretching slightly, like the building itself was alive. The temperature dropped. His breath fogged in front of his face. The air smelled of wet earth, decaying wood, and something metallic, like iron. 3 taps. Delta One spoke calmly, recording every detail. Entity demonstrates environmental manipulation. Forms combine, separate, replicate. Psychological stress increasing. Adaptive behavior consistent with prior reports. Observation and documentation ongoing. From the far east wing, a childlike silhouette ran along the floor. It paused, head tilted, watching. From above, shadow birds circled, then vanished. Authoritative adult figures blocked hallways, then disappeared, only to reappear behind him. Each movement deliberate, each step mirrored, each tap echoing his heartbeat. 3 taps. He unstrapped a small kit from his pack. Cross, incense, blessed water. Ritual tools approved for containment. He sprinkled water along the floorboards, murmured prayers under his breath. The entity responded immediately. Shadows recoiled, twisted, then returned, pulsing stronger, faster, more intelligent. 3 taps. Delta 1 advanced carefully. Every shadow seemed aware, every tap synchronized with his movement. It wasn't just the school that was alive anymore. It was the town. Streets outside warped in his vision. Houses leaned unnaturally. Trees bent, as if the entity's presence stretched beyond walls. The rhythm of the taps echoed through the very earth. 3 taps. He moved into the gym. Floorboards groaned. Basketball bounced by itself. Shadow children laughed faintly. Animal shapes ran across walls, breaking light, disappearing. He documented everything. EMF spiked to record highs. Infrared showed forms flickering, overlapping, impossible to track. 3 taps. Delta 1 spoke under his breath. Entity combines all prior forms: child, adult, authoritative, animal. Multiform intelligence fully adaptive. Containment impossible. Psychological pressure extreme. Environmental manipulation ongoing. Observation priority. Survival. The shadows surged, converging toward him. One massive presence, pulsing, flowing, alive, breathing. The tapping became faster, louder, more insistent. Each tap a command, a test, a warning. 3 taps. He moved toward the east corridor, heart pounding, documenting, observing. Shadows blocked exits, twisted hallways, warped doors. The school itself bent around him, forcing him toward the central hall. Whispers layered. Children, adults, animals. Voices from past witnesses. Every form he had read about was here, combining, multiplying. 3 taps. He raised a camera, pointed it at the mass of shadows. Light flickered, bounced, revealed glimpses of forms. Childlike silhouette crouched on the floor, authoritative adult standing, eyes fixed, shadow dogs circling. 3 taps. Delta 1 murmured prayers, focused on observation. The taps became more chaotic, yet the pattern remained discernible. It was studying him as much as he studied it. Adapting, learning, anticipating. 3 taps. The central hall became a vortex of shadows. Walls stretched, floorboards bent, ceilings folded. The entity expanded outward, beyond walls, into the street where Delta 1 had parked. He could see the town twisting, warping. Streets stretched, houses disappeared, trees leaned unnaturally. The entity had moved from containment inside the school to total environmental manipulation. 3 taps. Delta 1 spoke into the recorder, voice steady. Entity expansion beyond containment. Town affected. Multiform intelligence adaptive. Previous incident analysis insufficient. Observation continues. Evacuation impossible. Survival priority. The forms merged fully, a single immense shadow, pulsating, reaching outward, swallowing light, air, sound. It was everything he had read about, seen in reports, documented. The rhythm of taps echoed, marking time, presence, dominance. 3 taps. Delta 1 continued documenting, moving carefully. Every step measured. He spoke into his recorder, detailing every motion, every shadow, every echo, every tap. 3 taps. Finally, the entity's presence consumed the town. Streets, houses, air, light, all gone. Only darkness remained, pulsing, infinite. The tapping continued, insistent, patient, knowing. 3 taps. He collapsed near the center of the former main street, exhausted. Darkness surrounded him. The entity receded slightly, leaving him to document what had transpired. Every shadow, every tap, every form meticulously recorded. 3 taps. 3 years later, the ruins of the town resurfaced. Buildings collapsed, streets overgrown, land scarred. A Vatican expedition arrived, discovering the Journal of Delta One, containing every observation, every note, every report from previous 9 incidents. A priest read the journal aloud, closing it after the last entry, storing it safely in the archives. A phone rang. He answered. Report to the Archbishop. A new record has been found. In Egypt. 3 taps.